and that's also a very tightened and international
100%.
recognized market.
Yep.
So why Dubai?
I think two things. I think the first one on why Dubai, I think the rental yields in Dubai is actually very, very attractive compared to the other global cities in the world.
Getting strategic advisory is so important in this market, because I just feel that with everybody making content and everybody making content from their perspective,
Yeah.
what we are not able to figure out is a bigger picture of the market.
I think when I talk about not a Dubai broker and the reputation of brokers in my initial question, I think there are really some cream of the crop agents where are specialized in being these problem solvers, and that's why they're so successful.
And Abu Dhabi is also increasing its population. I recently heard 40% or more than what they were expecting.
Look at it. Look at Dubai Island. There's easily like 50 developers on there. It's almost impossible to analyze each and single one of them, let alone the whole of Dubai. So as for me, for my knowledge, I just have to be a lot more prescriptive and cautious about what I look into and what I don't.
What is the entry point to this market to invest and get some good returns satisfactory?
If you really want to buy a property that is fully owned by you, I think you can get for ready units, you can get maybe from 450k dirhams and above, but for ready units in older areas.
Hello everybody and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today on my podcast in UAE Brews and Views, I have with me not a Dubai broker but also an investor, the voice of whom you must have heard online. He's an investor, an educator, and I would say a property analyst who can give you in-depth analysis and with the correct numbers and figures, and we love to hear from him. Everybody is a fan of him on social media. Whoever knows about Dubai real estate definitely knows about 𝐻𝐾. So today, 𝐻𝐾 is with me. I'm very grateful to him for getting up the time, and
Thanks
welcome
for
to the show, 𝐻𝐾.
Finally, good to see you again. But obviously, in this setting, it's a bit different. But always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure, 𝐻𝐾. 𝐻𝐾, let's start. Firstly, I'm actually always very curious to know about the social media handle that you made. It's like, oh my God, you want to listen to this guy, you want to go to the channel and see. And that's how I actually connected with you.
Yeah, so how do I come up with this? I was just thinking of, how in America, the notion of a used car salesman has a bit of a negative association.
Yes.
I think, unfortunately, Dubai may have some of this kind of impressions these days.
Yeah.
And
because of the
therefore,
pushy nature of the agents that is going on.
Precisely. And there's a lot of agents these days, in the last few years, especially when the market is booming.
Yeah.
So I thought, it would be quite tongue-in-cheek, quite playful to put out a name like that as not a Dubai broker, so that it's very clear, what it says on the tin. And surprisingly, it's something that I think resonated with a lot of people, including yourself. So looking back, I thought it was quite a stroke of genius or stroke of creativity that I never knew I had. So
That's true. I think the name itself, have you registered it by any chance?
Well, ish fish, but it's okay. Like I'm an amateur content creator, so probably not. But I'll ask you how to trademark it after this podcast. But yes.
Yeah, because it's very interesting. And what happens is that when you go to your, when you land on your social media handle and you see the entire page, it gives you a very good analysis of what's going on in the Dubai real estate market, rather than going to any particular projects page or going to any random XYZ real estate pages. But with you, I think you must be one of the first person who's candidly sharing his investment journeys here in Dubai. So that brings me to the question of why Dubai, because I know, and for everybody, 𝐻𝐾 is from Singapore, so and that's also a very tightened and international
100%.
recognized market.
Yep.
So why Dubai?
So I think two things. I think the first one on why Dubai, I think the rental yields in Dubai is actually very, very attractive compared to the other global cities in the world. by a magnitude of at least 1.5 to 2x, which I think is super attractive. Even compared to Singapore, when I did the math, Dubai just kind of beats it hands down. Partly because Singapore is a highly regulated market geared towards locals' home ownership, so they don't really like this kind of speculative investor flipping kind of mechanisms. Whereas in Dubai, it's a lot more open, and I think that's why, for me, it's a lot more exciting. And I think if you look at the UBS report in 2024, I believe when they did the report, the yields in Dubai is just far more superior than all the other global cities. They list like 20 cities, which I thought was very illuminating. And the number of years it takes to pay back a Dubai property is also a lot shorter compared to the likes of Singapore. So whilst I'm in Dubai, why not just kind of put my hand in this very exciting market today?
Yeah, and also you were here. I think when you were in the place, you could study the place much better.
Precisely. Like you see the pulse of it. You speak to people who have first-hand knowledge of it. I visit, the sites itself, to the developer's office, just out of pure interest, just to see whether or not it's as legitimate as what the brochures say.
Yeah,
so yeah,
that's true. And do you think the developers usually deliver here what they promise on their brochures?
So varied, I would say. That said, I think that now, because the competition is a lot higher, I think there's a few statistics showing that there's hundreds, if not thousands, of developers these days. Everyone has to up their game, and reputation is so make or break in this industry. So on one hand, it's good because that means all developers have a bit of pressure to really deliver quality, or at least strong similarity to what they promise investors at the brochure stage. So I think it's good.
Yeah. And Keith, I'm also very interested to know from you, and I think the audience might be, because you are speaking from a very independent analytical view, and it's not from the real estate industry, right? So it's also the best thing is that everybody is asking everyone around on all the podcasts or reels that I see that Dubai market is a bubble. And do you think that this is a true statement, or do you think there's any contradictory evidence to this, or what's your take about it?
Yeah, it's a very good question. I think, if I knew, life would be good, because no one knows the future. But my high-level take is as follows. I think I'd like to take a step back and think longer term, because the Dubai or the UAE government has very ambitious plans for 2040, 2023. So, if we take a step back and look at the 20-year time horizon or 15-year time horizon, I think they are regulating the real industry to support what that population or what the city will mature into in those 15 years' time. So all said and done, what that means is, in this longer time horizon, there might be times when there is, a bit of an oversupply and undersupply, and therefore the market will react and adjust, accordingly until it hits a certain equilibrium in line with the UAE government's plan. Then if you want to zoom a little bit more to the kind of statistics or the time horizon that people look at, say the 2-3 years, about the handover project and the population growth, I think that, yes, there may be a world where there are some areas that may have some oversupply, but I think it is quite simplistic to generalize, Dubai overall as a whole as a city. Because I think there are so many different preferences, there are so many different unit types, there's so many new nationalities that are setting their roots in Dubai. It's very hard to say that the overall city will be, an entire bubble, right? And then the final point is, and I think you also know it better, is that even when we look at rentals, Dubai has, very good long-term rental regulations, and it's not as if you can just kind of say cut your rentals today and move at a cheaper price tomorrow. People tend to stick throughout the entire rental duration, which is around a year. So even if there's a certain slowdown, there will be, a certain staggering of growth rates rather than an instant crash. That's my opinion.
That's true. I think you rightly said it, that because of the evolving government and the evolving market laws as well, real estate laws as well, I also feel that this is something that the government is investing in.
Precisely.
And especially now, when the RERA is getting more and more regularized with each day and deal day as well. So yes, having said that, what, according to you, would be an area of interest for anybody starting out in Dubai? In terms of investment?
I think So, I'm quite structured in the way I think.
Yes.
I like to think
That's
budget.
what I love about you and your sheets, and it's all over. And we come to that.
Yeah. I think, it's a very broad question, right? I think the first part is, what are you investing for? What is the intention? Is it capital gains or is it rental ROI? Because depending on which route you go, the suggestion I give will be quite different. And secondly, it also depends on your budget, because then it also affects the unit type that one can try to aim for. So let's take an example. If you're looking for, say, rental income and you have less than $1 million in budget, my suggestion will be to look at areas which has demonstrated high ROI already. Then that's where you look at these areas and buy ready properties or almost handed over properties to benefit from the higher rental ROI.
Okay.
And in these areas, just to give a few examples, Arjan, Furjan, Dubai land, these are areas where you can get something pretty meaningful for less than 1 million dirhams, which I think is exciting. And also, if you're cash straps, then there's also the option of mortgage financing because they're ready property. So again, it's very specific on this corner of rental ROI objective and less than 1 million.
Yeah.
Of course, if you have 10 million dirhams to spare, lucky you, and you want capital gains, then look for properties where it's by a reputable developer, the first launch of a master community. For example, 𝐸𝐴 Grand Polo, for example, 𝐸𝐴 Oasis, things like that, when you're capitalizing on the launch strategy and the first launch of a very reputable developer.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's a very personalized advice,
100%.
and that's why everybody looking out to take personal, personal strategy. No, it's actually true. Getting strategic advisory is so important in this market, because I just feel that with everybody making content and everybody making content from their perspective, what we are not able to figure out is a bigger picture of the market, or a deeper analysis as well, which somebody like you, who knows the market, who's actually spending as well, who's putting in their money, and everybody's following that path, is very important.
Yeah, no, I think it's so true. I think a lot of social media content in real estate agencies, it's a hook based on how flashy a project looks like.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes, what I think brokers and agents have to value add is they are problem solver or advisors based on someone's investing objectives.
True.
So, this is just from personal experience. I would say maybe 1 out of 5 or 1 out of 10 brokers in the first interaction, if they will ask you about what are you looking for and what are your investing objectives.
Yes.
If they start sending you brochures or PDFs or forwarded long messages about the project, then that for me is a red flag, because they're not even listening to what you want.
Yeah, that person's blocked immediately, I feel.
Yeah, I do that a lot these days. So that is the number one, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's really and there are very good agents in this market.
Yes.
Right. I think when I talk about not a Dubai broker and the reputation of brokers in my initial question, I think I think there are really some cream of the crop agents where are specialized in being these problem solvers, and that's why they're so successful. And I just wish that more people are like that in the industry. If not, the investors themselves have to be a lot more savvy, because they have to do their own homework.
Yeah. And in this entire process of buying real estate, buying property here in Dubai, how smooth is the process as per you? Like, is it a seamless process? Have you faced any difficulties? What have you learned from that? If you could share some. Yeah.
So I think generally it is very smooth. I think it's very developer specific as well.
Yes. This is about buying off plan.
Yeah, buying off plan. I think in general it's very specific based on the developer. And I think it also, depends on the nature of the project, because some are quite high volume and some are quite niche. So, my best experience is with a boutique developer, where I agreed to buy in, mid-December, signed a contract, SPA actually, which is sales purchase agreement, in the first week of January, and then I got my Okut in the second week of January, which is the pre-handover building, pre-handover title deed, which is super fast. Yeah. And then you have some that takes about like 9 months. So the experience is quite varied for off-plan.
Yeah.
For ready, I think that it is also very straightforward. especially if you are a non-mortgage buyer. I think when you're a mortgage buyer and there's a mortgage seller, then there are two banks involved. That's where things would take a bit longer. But all in all, I think my experience have been very positive compared to the experiences of my friends in other markets like UK, where at least, if you're lucky, if the transfer happens in 6 months.
True.
Right?
That's
true.
right. That's right, actually. In fact, a lot of people, and we have this community wherein we discuss about it, but a lot of people have questions about SPA as well. And when I, look at it from a legal perspective, I always feel that there are certain part of the SPA that cannot be changed, which is mandatory by the DLD. But there are also things in between the line which you need to go through and review very much in depth, because if you don't do that, you don't know what you're preparing for. Maybe the handover delays, or maybe if there's early handover and you're not ready for it. I mean, there's so many things. Just 2 days back, somebody said that there was a master community service charge and the broker did not inform about it. And neither the broker did. I said, the broker did not sign the agreement for you. You are the one who's signing it. So better to go through all the... It's very important, I think, to get it reviewed, even if it's from the biggest of developers or the small. You
just have to either be very detail oriented yourself. B, just hire a legal counsel advisor like yourself to just go through the fine print, and or C, just be super paranoid in every sentence they write so that you get clarity by email. Right? I think that is the part.
If you have written communication, it's good evidence.
It helps a little bit more when you have disputes. Because also when brokers sell, because the sales purchase agreement is only given maybe say 2 weeks to 2 months after you have actually paid the down payment or the EOI, potentially. Let's say EOI, expression of interest. The brokers themselves may not even have a copy of what the sales purchase agreement is. So sometimes they don't even know what are the clauses in there, which is not their fault. Unless it's a developer that is very well known, then the broker should do the homework to look at the past projects to read the SPA. But sometimes you don't have that luxury. So whenever you get this sales purchase agreement, remember it's a contract. And remember that it's your money at stake, and therefore sometimes
even the booking form.
But they're shorter. It's more digestible.
But it's binding.
It's binding, 100%. So when in doubt, I would just say, hire legal counsel, because the fees will make it worth it. It's just so much less than the amount you're paying for the property itself.
True. In fact, have you ever got into the secondary market?
I got 2 ready units.
Okay. So a lot of time the issue that I've seen here, and I don't know if you're aware of this, but I'm sure you are, in the group also people ask, right? So in the agreement, the MOU, which is the contract F, there's a third party delay. And the third party delay sometimes is being, obviously the clause is there because everybody wants to be safeguarded. But so many times people don't add the third party delay and don't even specify what it could be. And that creates a lot of problem. Your deposit is gone, either the seller or the buyer. The delay could be from the bank side, could be from developer side and giving NOC. Could be any of those reasons.
So true. I add that in mind. Because it's so true.
I always tell people.
It's almost crazy how it's not in the actual boilerplate of Form F. But I think it should.
Yes,
but
it should.
That's what I always share, because there's really so many things can happen, especially when it comes to a bank. Right? I think when I bought my ready unit at Silicon Oasis, I had to get a mortgage. And it was during the time of the floods in Dubai. So everything was shut. Even the bank premises itself. And what usually takes less than a month took 2.5, 3 months. Because it was Eid and then the flood. So it was just bonkers if I didn't have that clause in my Form F, because it's not my fault, right?
Wow.
So that is that. And another interesting clause I always share with my network to add in Form F is, especially if you're paying by mortgage. When you pay by mortgage, the bank will have a valuation company to the unit to check how much they think it's worth. And then the clause I tend to ask people to add is to say that if the bank valuation is less than X% of the agreed price in Form F, you as a buyer should have the right to back out with no penalties.
True.
And why this is important, it's not because it's a bad deal. May not be the case. It's just purely because the bank lends you X%, either 60 or 80%, based on what they value. the property at, which means you have to top up the rest.
Yeah.
And if you
are
are
not
too
ready for it,
correct, if you're
yeah.
too stretched thin financially to not be able to pay the difference, then you are really stuck. And I think having that clause really allows you to, have less of a headache. And I think it's, like, again, one of those little things that I think is so important.
Yeah. And, talking about this entire industry and some of the things that I have in my experience, again, I would like to share with everybody, is that so many times, I just recently had a case and from your reference as well, and that person had invested in a flat in Dubai Creek Harbor, and the flat he specifically told the broker that he wants it to go for short-term rental. But because it was a hotel service department, it could not go, and after only MOU he realized this, and the agency is not cooperating, the agent is no more working with the agency. So I mean, there are so many things that in secondary deals especially, I feel that you need to go through and be mindful of.
You're 100% right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so true.
Because people can be pushy, they don't take responsibility later on. I mean, it's common practice, right? It's
Correct.
common practice anywhere.
Yeah.
You will have all types of eggs in the basket.
So true. And also because the Dubai market is so, booming and dynamic.
Yes.
Unless you speak to a specialist, like a Creek Harbor specialist in this example, that knows his or her area, it's very unlikely that someone would know, ready, off plan, this area, that area, waterfront, villa,
what's not coming. It's
developer
too much.
ABCDE. It's a lot. It's a
Yeah.
lot. I mean, how I look at properties is I just screen out a lot of areas that I don't think it's worth investing in.
Yeah.
And I screen out a lot of developers that I don't think has made that, mark in the industry yet. And then that's the, area of I look into.
Yeah.
Because then that is the highest.
You minimize your research.
Precisely. Minimize my research, but also minimize risk.
Yeah.
True. Yeah. So that
So the starting point is area, you mean?
I start with area and
developer.
then developers. I think that's just easy, because if not, look at it. Look at Dubai Island. There's easily like 50 developers on there. It's almost impossible to analyze each and single one of them, let alone the whole of Dubai. So as for me, for my knowledge, I just have to be a lot more prescriptive and cautious about what I look into and what I don't.
Yeah. And that brings me to the question of, have you ever, like, I don't know why, but I'm very excited about the commercial market here. I don't know if you've ever looked into the commercial space, and you think that if that could, because when I go to get an office, I don't, even in an area like Business Bay, I don't get a nice office in a nice building within something which is not less budget. Like, it's a good amount of budget, but still the buildings are so fragmented. Something is, Business Bay entirely so fragmented, something is good. So that way I feel connectivity to metro. So I do see a good this thing with commercials.
I think I'm only starting to look into it. When I say only, I need like 2-3 weeks. But I think it's an area I really wanted to explore, because I'm quite overexposed in the residential side, and I think Dubai will still always be a thriving commercial hub. I think the initial learnings are as follow. I think there is still a element of requirements or demand for commercial units. I think even if you start a business, I think you know it better than I do. If you start a business in Dubai, you may need a
physical space,
a physical address. So even if it's a one small table box, and whatever, you still need it. So there's always demand for that. And I think what is also interesting is that there are more and more launches of commercial units in non-business bay, non-prime areas these days.
Right.
So I'm starting to see, Sports City. I see in Urjan.
Yes.
I see in JLT.
Yeah, wherever there's metro, I feel that.
Whenever there's metro, or wherever it's close to where people live.
Yes, close to.
Because Business Bay is, it's obviously it's in the name, but it's also really, really congested and crowded.
Very congested now.
Right. Unless your project really stands out, like the Omni Yard Lumina one that was launched this week and it went crazy.
I wish I had
But the beauty is there are also very good options around the other parts of Dubai. right? That's also price adjusted, right? Not everyone can afford a 4,380 per square feet office units, but you can still get grade A 2,080 per square feet in Arjan, for example, in JLT. And I also know you also recently went to Expo City, where they're also about to launch a commercial unit as well.
I'm very convinced with Expo, but for a long-term vision.
Yeah.
But I do know that already so many companies are already working there. And if I had an option, if my kind of business could move to Expo, I would definitely. But I think that's still
such a great community as well.
It's a great community. It's friendly, pedestrian friendly. Like, I think I'm very
with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's something about it when you go there, you'll be like, I wish I was here the whole time. So I think commercial is exciting. I think the rental ROI I'm learning that is actually also very attractive.
Yeah.
And the beauty also is that leases has to be longer term. Like can be 3 years, can be 5 years. Which is
usually you will get the tenants which are maybe companies who want to stay in a place for long term.
Of course.
They don't want to
change all the time because you have to also spend initial capital expenditure to do the fit out and things like that. They want to stay for longer term. So as an owner, you're like solid for 3 years of rent, which is harder to guarantee in the otherwise very competitive residential market. So it depends on your budget and also depends on your objective, right? But my initial research and my initial conversations about this sector is quite interesting. Yeah, I was looking into it a bit. Yeah.
In fact, I had one of the very nice commercial real estate guy come here last 3-4 podcasts before.
Nice.
And he's only specializing in commercial and only specializing in downtown.
I mean, there's a market for it.
Imagine. And he told me, Shireen, can you believe that if you have to open a retail store in Dubai Mall, there is about a 3-year waiting, plus a business plan approval, plus your business should already be established in other parts of Dubai and doing well, and so that you can take that project to MR and tell them. So it's such a complex.
It's so competitive. There's a waiting list.
Because Dubai Mall, highest footfall. I mean,
I understand.
More footfall than almost some cities.
It's a tourist institution, right? And therefore the brand name should resonate with it. No, come to think of it, it's quite interesting. I'm not surprised. Yeah, I'm not surprised, but yeah.
So, Keith, when we talk about entry point in the Dubai market in terms of pricing, for anybody listening to you out there, what do you recommend? What is the entry point to this market to invest and get some good returns satisfactory?
So, if you really want to buy a property that is fully owned by you, I think you can get for ready units, you can get maybe from 450k dirhams and above. But for ready units in older areas, right? I think that is the entry price in Dubai. But in off-plan, these days, I think the prices are easily around 650 to 700k and above for a studio, which is quite crazy if you think about it. But that's the reality these days for that. Of course, I think there are other ways you can benefit from the real estate growth in Dubai through other means. There are more and more fractional real estate platforms for which one can contribute and get returns to without having access to the entire unit. And there are also very reputable developers like 𝐸𝐸, DIA, Alda, that's in the Dubai financial market stock market, where you can also put less 5,000 dirhams minimum.
You're talking about those tokenized projects?
No, this is just stocks, like
stocks.
Equities.
Okay, like 𝐸𝐸
stock, right? Because not everyone can afford an 𝐸𝐸 at 80/20 payment plan. I'm not one of them. So buying 𝐸𝐸 stocks is like one of the ways I can still benefit from the successes of 𝐸𝐸 without bleeding my wallet. So that's the kind of price ranges you can think of to capitalize on the real estate growth in Dubai.
Okay, so Keith, with number of your investments, how's your experience been in being a landlord? And what is on the other side? How are the tenancy laws as per you? How regulated is this market? Because I come from Canada, and I see the land and tenant board is usually sorry to say, but it's usually so booked that even after 1 years you get your hearing, and it's a sad state. Like, people are scared of tenants because of the long wait list, and then tenants would come up with different stories, and then again the landlord's actually not very in a happy position, and they are kind of in a risky position there. So it's very important to find a good tenant there who has a very good credibility.
I understand.
So that's what happens in that
Canada.
part of the world. And here, what do you feel?
I think there are some parallels, right? I think Dubai real estate laws are also very tenant friendly. So I think, the commonality of screening good tenants is super, super important. Obviously, it depends on, where you're buying, which area, what kind of units you're renting out, what kind of due diligence and checks you do to ensure that that the tenant risk profile is as low as possible. Sometimes what I do is I also kind of work with well-established agencies where they assume that risk for me. So they help me source the tenants, they collect the checks from the tenant, and then I get paid by them. So I, as a landlord, I'm waived off the risk.
So your agreement is with the agency.
Correct. I mean, of course, you have to pay a bit of more than market rate for that risk.
But it's taking away the stress.
But correct, because for me, real estate is passive income, not active income. So that's why for me, this is an important part of the entire journey. I think from a tenant perspective, I think the Dubai government is very protective, which I think is good. So I think this year they launched the Smart Rewrite Index, which is so helpful because it limits the amount or the percentage based on the market benchmark for which your landlord is able to increase your rent when your lease finishes. And also, this is on top of the fact of existing regulations where the landlord needs to give you 90-day notice, which I think is really, really long and gives you, less of a surprise. And they're very strict about it, which I think, really shows how much the law protects the tenants. From personal experience, I'm renting. And this year, because of the Smart Rewrite Index, my landlord did not increase my rent, which I thought was like a personal victory. but I think, this is how the local authorities also try to regulate the market from it spiraling out of control, right? Because they still want Dubai to be a very attractive place for people to move into to live. So, it has to be good for investors, but also good for tenants at the same time. And so far, I think the balance is struck quite eloquently.
And very interestingly, you said that you yourself are a tenant. I want to understand the psychology behind, and I hear a lot of people, because in North India, what happens is people are like, buy the house and invest. Like, your house is an investment too. And a lot of people in first world countries as well, I see, they say that instead of paying somebody else's rent, I rather pay my own mortgage, So that's how people calibrate. But you say that you are tenant. What is the psychology and the max behind this?
Very good shout. So, I mean, I'm very inspired by the book, like Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. Where they say a house is not an asset. An asset is something that makes you money. If you're staying in the house and obviously you're not making any income, that is not an asset, it's a liability.
It's emotional. It's so difficult
to sell. It's so
emotional.
Precisely.
Emotional.
Whereas if you look at houses as an investment, then you take out all the emotions and you just put numbers in. So my personal story is I bought a 1-bedroom near Dubai Frame by Wasso, and I want to live in it as an end user. So same emotions and same mindset. But when the time was ready to hand over, I saw that the market rate for my unit that I bought was 100,000 dirhams per year. And I got a offer to rent somewhere, 1-bedroom closer to my office for, I think, like 55,000 dirhams. In that case, the math just balances out, right? So that's how I start thinking about it. And also this question I hear a lot from, people in my network or followers who also ask me, I want to buy a house, but I also want to live in that. And my first question is, you have to make up your mind. Because buying a home is very emotional and I can't help with that. I could not tell whether your house needs a closed kitchen or not. I can't tell whether you need to be Vastu or Feng Shui compliant. I really can't. And these are not quantifiable in my opinion. And also, if you buy a home, it becomes very inflexible Because what if you're buying a home in, I'm making this up, in Dubai Hills because you're working in the King's Hospital, but tomorrow you're transferred to another hospital that's so far away, you're stuck.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're renting, you have that flexibility. So,
Yes.
there is a lot of factors at play here that one have to consider before deciding to buy a house to live or buy a house to invest.
Yeah, even I'm of that viewpoint, and I always think that a house is an emotional asset, and only at I think one point of time, yes, you do need it when you have kids, etc., and you need a stable, school is there, etc. But I still feel yes, it makes you a lot more inflexible and emotional,
True.
and then you invest in a lot of your money in your peak time in that.
So true, and I've seen some TikToks or some TikToks actually where they show that the path to wealth is not salary, home ownership, and then home ownership plus multiple real estate assets that's making passive income. It's the second and the third stage is actually switched, right? You first make money. You buy quite a fair bit of capital assets. This is not financial advice, by the way. You buy a lot of houses or properties for investment. Then you use the money or the capital you either flipped or are getting passive income for to then leverage and buy your own home.
Yes.
Yes. that mindset is so interesting, I feel, because you're not depriving yourself from living in your dream home, but it's just the sequence of that is quite unorthodox.
I think now it's an evolving concept as well when people are becoming more aware of a financial this thing.
I hope so, though. I feel like the financial literacy in general is very low.
Yes.
Because it's not something that we are taught in schools.
Yeah.
In some cultures, it's like a taboo topic. I don't know about you, but in Singapore, we don't really talk about it. And
it's just what is being followed in the family, and that's going on like culturally.
True.
I agree.
Precisely, right? And some have this risk aversion because they don't like to invest in what they don't know. But how would you know if you don't try? It's a really, really weird
It's a circle.
Yeah, but I think I'm trying to broaden my mind to understand different financial instruments, literacy. I'm trying to explore. As I said, if you don't do it, you wouldn't know. Just to try out and see, right?
I think this is your passion. This comes so naturally to you. And when I see your reels or videos, the way you explain it, it's so nice because in this entire chaotic community or project, everybody's talking about it. What you take out from it is the best. That is what you want, and that's why I think you have such a good organic outreach. You have people who actually listen to you, follow you, and blindly. I sometimes feel yes, it's a pressure on the influencer, but also it's the right way because you are teaching the right skills and the right this thing. Also, I know a lot of people do shady things with your templates, but your templates are so
But it's
good.
fine if it helps, people become
helps.
more savvy. And I'm still learning. I think with this, the side benefit of starting this is to meet people like you who are also very specialized in your own field. And also, really it broadened the network, and that's how I learn as well. So on one hand, very flattered. On the other, I'm still learning. So please don't blindly follow. Do your own research. Challenge when you think it's wrong. I think everyone has their own convictions. And as you build up that muscle of understanding the market, then it becomes an element of expertise and gut. Because sometimes gut instincts does go quite a long way. So please don't blindly follow.
I mean, of course, but some people don't want to do this thing and just want that for those kind of people, you are a very good resource.
I try. I think it's just very interesting because there's just so much to
and there's
look
so much
into.
to learn. There's so much to look into. I recently, was looking through your story. I think you invested in Abu Dhabi.
Yes, I did.
And congratulations. That's
Thank
your
you.
8th investment.
I'm quite excited.
I'm hearing a lot about Abu Dhabi market, and of course, if the market is going somewhere, I know Keith is already there, so it's best to hear from you about the Abu Dhabi market as well.
No. So again, still very new, still learning about it. I've only been there, just to study about real estate with very deeply, people with deep expertise
in Abu Dhabi.
I think the way the city wants to establish itself from Dubai, I think is quite unique and quite different. Abu Dhabi is still the capital of UAE at the end of the day, and they are the ones with the oil reserves. So for them, they want to make Yas Island, which everyone is talking about with Disney World, the entertainment industry, entertainment destination.
Yeah.
And then they are looking to make Saadiyat Island, where I bought, the cultural, destination, the cultural district. And I think both of these are I wouldn't say missing, but they are not concentrated in Dubai. So that's why I think it really stands out. And as you can also hear, the Etihad Arena in Abu Dhabi is also becoming more and more popular with international artists coming, like Guns N' Roses last month, for example. So they really want to make it a very competitive destination to Dubai as well. And I think that's where it will both cities will grow as well. Yeah, I look at Abu Dhabi, A, because I think I'm overexposed to Dubai, and B, I think that being the capital of UAE, I think they really have very strong plans, and that's why I want to put my money there as well.
Yeah, it helps you diversify.
Just a little bit. It's still the same country.
Same country, yeah.
but still for very different use cases.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Abu Dhabi is also increasing its population. I recently heard 40% or more than what they were expecting. It's a good thing.
It's also going to be a lot more accessible, right? Because with the Etihad Rail, I don't know. My hunch is there is a world where you may see more families or people who are used to a more slower lifestyle to live in Abu Dhabi, where during Eid weekend there's still no traffic, and take that Etihad Rail to Dubai to work.
Yeah.
That could work, right?
Yeah. Like happens in other countries like UK,
so
US.
often, all these
People
super commute.
like to live in the countryside. And
it's just a very different vibe. And sometimes, even myself included, leaving Dubai to Abu Dhabi for just a little bit of a slow down, a detox, a refresher, it's actually very, very peaceful and much needed.
Yeah.
So who knows? Like, I think, there might be a wave. Who knows? Maybe our next podcast will be in Abu Dhabi for all we know. So
maybe. I hope so.
Yeah. So that's how I think about Abu Dhabi. But yeah. So how about you? So I think you say you were very excited about Expo City.
Yes.
Are there any also other like areas or in Dubai that you are also quite excited about?
So I honestly think for me, if you think about it from a religious perspective, I think Furjan, because it has everything. It has the temple, it has the Gurdwara, it has, all those places of worship, and that really matters. It has schools, it has hospital coming, it has all those.
I love the area, the Furjan, the Wasl Gate area. And there's a metro station already.
Yeah, I like it too. I like Motor City as well. Yeah,
from a residential perspective?
From residential, and then having commercial now evolving there as well. And then, of course, I think downtown will remain downtown. I don't know about the Bike Creek, but I live here. I've always worked in business base, so I kind of love this. So I think I love the buzz around it.
You love the buzz around it. Yeah, and I can see that coming. I mean, there's always only going to be one downtown.
Yeah,
in general.
And of course, if you go to now, it's it's congested a lot. But DIFC giving a feel of we've spoken about it of London.
Canary Wharf.
Canary Wharf. It's
so
amazing.
With you. Yeah. No, I think they also launched a few projects there these days, right, by very premium developers, and they got sold out. I think it's a testament to the uniqueness of DIFC and the laws, just like ADGM in Abu Dhabi. I think it's ADGM. Quite interesting, but also very much needed to secure that global status, that familiarity to attract the investments and big companies to want to set up shop in Dubai.
Yeah, people are more convinced with the area of law where they're already familiar with like common law, So that's why I think DIFC does really well that way. People are able to set up companies and know that they're going to be governed by a particular law which they're already aware of. Yeah. So that's a very big plus point for the financial centers.
So true. Yeah, and also one of the things is your WhatsApp group. I really like it. I think
it's your WhatsApp group.
No. I really like it. I think
Thank you.
I like the activity. I think you're really helping the industry a little bit,
Yeah.
as well with what
And
you
I
know.
see there's a lot of lack of knowledge, because people are entering the industry, through the real estate agents are entering the industry, but they are not aware that what kind of responsibility they carry on their shoulders when they talk to people. They might be aware, but they sometimes don't have the support. There's no training. It's only the basic exam, and you know how they pass exams. It's like
I hear it's easier. I never tried it yet. Yeah.
It's very very easy that way. But to just be updated with what the legal development is, with what the practical aspects of things that are going on, there are sometimes
So many developments.
and then there are so many times people are misusing, for example, the POA. There are hanky-panky stuff also here and there happening. So when you're aware, it just helps you advise better. And I think
agree.
that's what is needed in this market.
Yeah, and I like the activity because I think, people do ask rather specific questions. Brokers, even investors as well.
Yeah.
And I think, you always take time to very meticulously respond. I think it really helps because then it helps the industry be a lot more educated or make the right decisions.
Although I try that, I always say that specific advice is very different because you have to review through a lot of documents. But in general, I try to. I think we should soon have some meetups from that. I have actually, a lot of people have asked as well that we should have meetups for that community.
To do what?
To discuss, meet, greet, etc. All of that. Everything is networking here, no? I think people
not for me. I'm not a big fan. Yeah.
Actually, it's a tough thing for me. But now I've started, when I moved to Dubai, I think I've started liking it. Because you meet a lot of people with a different mindset and it just teaches you.
And it's very international.
Yes,
I
it's
think
very
that was quite
diverse.
No, I understand. Yeah. No, but I think the meetup group will be quite interesting. I don't know who would attend or whether it will be like brokers trying to sell to each other. I literally don't know how it would look like. Can you imagine? It would be so weird. But organize something we can see. We can see.
All right. So I think we've covered most of it and we'll just say goodbye.
Sounds good.
It was good. It was nice. Do you want to say anything? You want to add anything?
So I think
anything for the reel, anything you want to?
No, I think maybe just kind of one final thought for investors, right? I think be it Dubai or overseas. I think it's important to be very clear about what you're investing for.
Yes.
Second is to do your own personal statements, financial statements, homework to know how much you can comfortably afford, not stretch. And last but not least, even though the legal regulatory framework in Dubai is great, do consult expert advice if in doubt, because at the end of the day, it's your hard-earned money. And it's your interest that needs to be protected. So I think these are the three things that I wish more people would take to heart.
Yeah, that's true. So usually with advisory, I always tell people, this is on the side, right?
Yeah.
So I always tell people that a good lawyer is somebody who will try to keep you out of court. So it's better to actually vet everything before and rather than not cry over your deposits, etc. later on, because you are signing something and
it's so true. Yeah, it's a lot of money.
Yeah, and so many times, Keith, in Dubai, I've seen everything can be resolved through mediation and negotiation. So many things. But people are just taking things to their ego and not like communicating. If you just communicate with the other party a little bit in any transaction, I think it just makes your life so simple. And for example, people are entering into partnerships to buy properties.
Okay.
Yeah, right. And then when they're entering into partnership, the goal is different at that point of time. And it changes for one person in 5 years. 2 years, 3 years. So just have that exit documented, like how much time would it take, but it would make your life easy because one wants to exit and one wants the market to just get better, etc.
It's a lot of mess for what can be mediated earlier on. And in writing. So true.
So, thank you, Keith. Thank you for the wonderful session. I had a great time. I hope you guys too. And if you need any other questions, queries, or concerns, have any other concerns, reach out to Keith, reach out to me. The link is in the description box. Thanks for watching and see you again next time.
Thank you. See you.
Thank you.